between us, the whole thing is genuinely incredibly collaborative because you might be hearing something that I'm singing that Paul's written, and you might be hearing something that Paul's singing that I've written, or more realistically, you're hearing anything that we're singing and we've both written it like parts within those sections, and it's really kind of been fully collaborative.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefe. Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Ed from Devil Sold His Soul. Ed, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks. How you doing?
I am awesome. How are you on this Friday, March 2020, the 95th thousand?
Pretty tired, if I'm honest with you.
I
I
got
did,
you. You guys are doing a lot of press. Uh,
actually, most of my press dropped out this evening. One of them didn't show, and then the other one rescheduled. But I just did a 13-hour day at work yesterday, and then back in at 9 this morning. So just tired.
gotcha. Fully understandable. Fully understandable. Things happen. These things
Yeah, yeah.
happen. Imagine like in the old days, you would do press days on the phone,
Yeah. I put
or a
way.
curly paper fax. Years and years ago, decades ago. So now we have these miracles like Zoom and Skype, where we can talk to each other across the world.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
like this. I mean, I'd way prefer having the videos on than doing it over the phone. It's nice to see people. Feels like you're actually having a conversation.
Yeah, like you're there in person. Even some of our podcast stuff that ends up not being on video, we
Mm.
end up just enjoying each other's company over
Exactly.
video.
I think the conversation's better because of it. Definitely.
Yeah, you can see people. Of course, I'm super excited to talk about Loss, which is coming out April 9th on Nuclear Blast. But I try to start all these interviews the same way, which is just check in with you. I hope the band is well. I hope you're well, your family, your friends, anyone you care about hasn't been just killed by illness, the economy, civil unrest,
Yeah.
anything in the world that, the last 12 months have been just a nightmare. And while I'm excited to talk about art and music and get to know you, I want to make sure you guys are okay.
No, that's very kind of you. Yeah, no, we're all good, I think. Yeah, I mean, we saw each other like a little bit when we were doing these videos, maybe third sort of quarter last year when we were kind of opening back up a little bit. But yeah, we haven't seen each other for ages, which is a shame. But we were talking daily and stuff, and everyone's health is good. So yeah, can't complain really. It's all good.
Nice. I know you mentioned video. You just dropped one, I think today, which is incredible. Yeah,
Yes.
I just saw it a little while ago. I was like, man, this is, I really dig the record, and I think it's fun that music videos still have a place. I know there's a period of time when maybe it was an investment or technology or time, and they were sort of falling out of favor a little bit, except for the upper echelon bands. But it's really cool. We've seen so many cool videos already this year in a short span of time, and I really like you guys. It's like a performance video, but it's also got like some depth to it emotionally that helps the song. I really like it.
Yeah, I just think like just as a it's just really nice to put some cool visuals to a song, if nothing else. So for us. It's really just about just doing as much like fun stuff as we can, and do music videos. Although a bit weird, it's really nice to have that as a just a product, like a thing in however many years you can look back and go, hey, that's a cool thing that I did, at the very least.
Right on. And then, of course, being that we live in a content world,
Yeah,
and you having sort of an up and coming band, do you feel kind of maybe pressured a little bit to have all this content for all these channels? Like, do you feel
yeah.
compelled to constantly be part of that?
I think you have to take part in that stuff if you want anyone to sort of pay attention, because the way everything works these days, everyone is just it's just instant gratification, and if you don't have something to throw in someone's face, why would they look at you? They'd just go look at the next band that has something to throw at them, basically. So it's all about just snapshots of stuff constantly, I guess. So yeah, you need stuff to put in front of people, which is a big thing. We've tried really hard this sort of campaign to put as much, just I guess you'd call it content if you're being quite just I don't know about it, but yeah, content, just cool things. Like we did I did a animation thing for when we announced the album. It was like the artwork all cut up into sort of layers. It does this sort of sort of tilt down into the scenery and then cuts to some text and stuff. It was just it's just cool things. It's a nice way of putting extra art out there, I suppose, if you look at it that way. I mean, if you're being cynical, some people might say it's just milking it, I suppose. But where we see it, we wouldn't put any of this stuff in front of people if we didn't think it looked cool or was cool in some sort of way. So it's all worth doing, and it's been quite a nice experience in that we haven't really outsourced anything apart from the music videos and the mastering of the album. Everything's been done by all of us. So Jonny, our guitarist, he's the sort of producer, mixer, engineer of the album. He's done everything. We outsourced it to Alan Dutches to do the mastering, but aside from that, it was all just done by Jonny. The artwork, the photography was done by our guitarist Rick. The layout was done by our drummer Lex, and all of the video stuff's done by me because I'm a video editor. So yeah, Lex and Rick are both graphic designers. Jonny's music. Paul is a project manager at work, so he's the manager of the band really. So it's just everyone just chips in with their stuff, and it's really nice little sort of how we can just do all this stuff internally and we can get it all signed off internally, and everyone really sort of enjoys it. It's cool, really, really cool.
That's awesome, and I love how each member has their own roles, and that you guys can all work together. That's very fortuitous. I also, like I said, I teach some music marketing, and I was literally just interviewed about this, and I said, like, everybody in the band should take an ownership of several things or a few things. And it's very easy to say, listen, Nuclear Blast is a legendary label in heavy metal, and they have great resources, and I am fond of many of their staff on their team, publicity, video, everything, graphic design. But I cannot stress enough to anyone else watching this that looks at your band and is like, I would like to be where these guys are. You have to have a stake in your own success, and you have to manage these things and not just trust. And again, Nuclear Blast is awesome. Rob Zombie's new album is out today on your label, and he is obviously a very creative person and can afford anything he wants in terms of promotion. But you see how he is almost driving some of the process of the album. The artwork is still all Rob. It's like the same aesthetic he has had since like 1992 or 1995 in White Zombie. He still has today, and so I can't stress enough how important it is for bands to to do this.
No one knows our band better than we do. So from a creative standpoint, we can all get to that point a lot quicker. Obviously, from a financial point of view, it benefits us to be able to do stuff internally because we don't have indefinite amounts of money to sort of throw around. And what it does mean is when we do need to spend that money, we can really use it in a way that is much more useful to us. And just because we all know the band so well, getting stuff signed off is just generally quite quick because someone will go, here's a few ideas, and everyone will go, this one, this one, this one. We'll take a vote, and then cool, done. It's quite nice. Yeah.
No fighting, less fighting, less decision. It's true though. If you can limit the decision-making process as much as possible and streamline it, I understand how hard it is, and everybody can be very, listen, this is your life. This album, this music is your life.
If you get 6 people trying to work on a piece of art, like it could be hard to collaborate on just a piece of work, let alone a piece of art. So, I mean, there's discussions. Don't get me wrong, but it all comes out good in the end.
Right on. Let's do a little, comic book issue origin story number 1. How did you guys form? 6 disparate people coming together to form a band. Didn't happen overnight. Were you guys friends first? How did you guys form the band?
So we formed back in 2004. So that's nearly 18 years ago now, which is kind of nuts. So before that, there was a band called Mahumodo, which both Rick, Jonny, our 2 guitarists, and our drummer, then Tom, were all part of. And that band split because the singer was moving back to the US. So they decided to start a new band, which was this band. Jonny's brother ended up at the same college as me. It was really fortuitous, and I was a fan of this band. So I ended up trying out and landed in the band, and then my best mate Ian tried out for bass as well, and he ended up in, and that was the unit to start with. I mean, we've had a few sort of lineup changes over the years, but I mean, over 18 years, not everyone can commit like that. So it's never been like everyone's disappeared and then there's one guy in the band left. it's never been that case. It's always been the same, like core at least. Yeah, so we've done that. We put an EP in. Well, we recorded it and first put it out in 2004, and then in 2005, label called Visible Noise put that out, and then we started writing our first full length, which we put out in 2007, which is called Fragile Hope, and that was out via an independent label, which was set up by our management specifically for that release. And then we put out Blessed and Cursed 2010, and then Emperor of Light in 2012. And then in 2013, I actually stepped away because we've been doing it for 10 years and just needed to really think about the future, really, financially and career-wise. And Paul stepped in and took my place, and they did Blonde Betray in 2014, I think it was. And then in 2017, it was the 10-year anniversary of our first record, and they asked me to come sing it with them. Just did some celebration shows, really. We did 4 shows, and me and Paul shared the vocals out on it. Even though it's a one vocalist album, we kind of went through with highlighters on the lyrics and split all the vocals up, and it was just genuinely one of the most sort of fun live experiences we've ever had, definitely. And it just really changed our opinion on the band in some ways, because within that period, everyone kind of went off into jobs and careers and stuff, and I think it slowed down a little bit, and then we sort of just realized how much we loved it, and it really lit a fire under us to write a new record. We went and played some shows. We went and played Japan. We did a bunch of festivals and stuff, and then we started working on this in 2018, I think. So it's been about, starting writing to release, it's been about a 3-year process, which is a long time, definitely. Like back in 2010, when you put out a record in, you're in a two-year album cycle. As far as I can see, those album cycles these days have got even shorter. People's attention span, they need a record even sooner now than they used to. So we've been quite luxurious with our time, I suppose. But that's kind of the point we're at, I suppose. We're not necessarily a career band, not in the sense. I mean, we want to do well. Don't get me wrong. We definitely want to sort of get this out to as many people as possible, because this isn't a financial driver for us. It's really more of a hobby, I suppose, like a pretty full-on hobby, but really something that we do out like a project of love rather than a career purpose. So it really changes your outlook a little bit, in that you don't feel like you have to abide by previous constraints and stuff. So it really meant that we could take our time with it, and we weren't going to put it out until it was ready, and we wouldn't have put it out at all if we didn't think it was worthwhile, I suppose. So yeah, it was a long process, but I think we were very happy with it, actually. Yeah.
Right on. And it just clicked. You and Paul singing together has definitely helped the band. Definitely don't step on each other. You definitely, blend together well, complement each other well. And I think this record, having been fortunate enough to hear it a few times, it is probably the best. That single element, this is the best you've done it, is this mesh of vocal styles together. And do you also sort of point and counterpoint lyrics together too?
Yeah, so this is interesting. So when I came in to do those Fragile Hope shows in 2017, 10-year stuff, me and Paul, like, we knew each other in passing. It wasn't like strangers, but we didn't know each other particularly well. So it was really a baptism of fire, having to work out those songs together and really go up. And I mean, singing's kind of strange. It's not like just playing in a band with someone you don't know, like singing with someone. It's really like, and we just got on instantly. Like, I can say now, Paul's one of my best friends. And it's really like, it could have gone completely different way and we wouldn't be where we are now. But I think really, realistically, the reason why we're both singing on this record is because it really did we just got on like a house on fire, really. So when we started writing the record, it was a bit of a false start vocally, because we were trying to work remotely and send stuff to each other over WhatsApp and get ideas through that way. Yeah, it was sort of slow going. And I think also the whole band are a bunch of, we're all kind of, how would you put it? We're all quite quiet, anxious people, I suppose. So if one of us is at work and one of us has sent an idea over to the other one and neither of us responded to it, it's like the other one gets a bit like about it. But then we thought, fuck this, let's just start getting in a room together and start working on this. And the second we did that, it was like, oh, we should have done this day one. It's stupid that we didn't just decide, like, just go old school, get in a room, work on it. And it was just really easy. I mean, I'm not saying that there were songs that were harder to write than others, but in terms of me and him working together and thrashing out ideas, it was just really easy. And we'd work in a way where we decided to basically fuck off lyrics to begin with. Let's not think about lyrics, because you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole if you start writing lyrics first, and then you get forced down certain alleyways in terms of how you have to phrase stuff and all that stuff. We just went down a much more naturalistic route where we would just sing over the song. We just sort of sing kind of syllabic nonsense over it, and and one of us would be a mic open with the computer, press record, one of us sing something, we listen to it back and go, hey, those two notes together are really awesome. It's a bit in the middle, it's a bit of a jumble, and that ending's fucking great. How about we focus on this bit? So we just get rid of it, and then you try something else, and you just keep going. And then someone might be like, oh, what about how if you bridge it like this? And then but just between us, the whole thing is genuinely incredibly collaborative, because you might be hearing something that I'm singing that Paul's written, and you might be hearing something that Paul's singing that I've written, or more realistically, you're hearing anything that we're singing and we've both written it, like parts within those sections, and it's really kind of been fully collaborative. And then once we did that, we did go away and we started writing lyrics kind of a bit more separately, and then we would sort of send them to each other, and then we'd start editing back and forth, just to make sure things fit properly, words were right, and things sounded right, because obviously with words and stuff, I think I find is that you can get the syllables right, but if the word doesn't sound right in terms of like mouth shape and stuff, it can be really be the sort of the make or break between whether a line sounds good. It's really weird. So yeah, just back and forth on that, and it again, it wasn't the quickest process. We started writing the vocals in the summer of, well, late summer of 2018, I think, and I think we finished lyrics maybe about March, maybe a little bit later, March 2020, just as shit was kicking off, so to speak.
Rats. But awesome. Thank you for sharing that process. It's really interesting and a pretty novel and cool way to work together to
Yeah,
build something special. And I think that's why the band sounds so unique. And Loss doesn't really sound like a lot of post-hardcore records or any records touching those genres. Like it really has its own style. It's not a concept record, but the themes are all kind of universal. And I like
yeah,
that it's very relatable.
yeah,
I know you talked about being in the game a long time, but it has like a very like a relatability that I think will speak to a lot of people, especially after this last year.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think I don't know whether this is sort of well, we've spoken about it a bit. Basically, when we started writing the record, our drummer Lex, his mum passed over Christmas, and it was literally just as we were starting to write, and it was just unexpected, and it was brutal, and it was awful for him. He's been working through it, and he's still working through it, and he obviously probably always will be working through it. But it really was kind of where our starting point, and it just felt like that was the kind of a sensible place to start. And I think all of us have had sort of well, I know all of us have had personal losses through this, and then it kind of it's about sort of loss of loved ones, obviously, but it's also about kind of the loss of yourself and the loss of your sort of mental health to do with that as well. And yeah, I think it really it yeah, everyone's been affected with it, and especially this year over like loss of so many things, not just life, but of your actual your social network, your your actual outside of the house life, everything. There's so much to us has been lost this past year for everyone.
So much. And again, I appreciate you guys for persevering and putting this new music out and finding your way through. I'm glad that you're mostly all still employed and doing your things and the band. So I'm glad to hear that. And I do believe it is going to get better. I am
Yeah,
trying to be positive despite the negativity of life. And I do think we're going to get our shows and our festivals back. And you guys really have, made your name as a live band as much as anything else. So I know it's kind of hard wondering when things are going to reopen, if festivals are going to happen. You have been a festival band.
yeah,
So it'd be interesting to see,
It's
when this stuff comes back.
it's really odd putting a record out into like usually there's this campaign all the way up to launch, and then when you put the album out, that's when things happen at the start. Basically, that's the start of the actual campaign. And this is just like it all leads up. It leads up. It's like, oh, what are we doing now? So we're looking to book shows, but it's not until next year. So it's a really odd feeling. It's going to be, especially for us, because it's been such a long time coming. There's going to be this weird kind of almost like post holiday blues that hits on April 9th. Is April 9th it's coming out?
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh, well, that's that done.
Any plans for something like live, a fan chat or a live stream or a performance in
Well,
that fashion?
we've definitely been talking about doing a an early live stream of the album. I think I'm not sure if we're going to do that, but we did it with the last music video, and it was really fun. But it was just way too short, and it'd just be a really nice way to listen through the album with fans and chat through it and stuff. I don't know about doing a live stream gig. We've obviously spoken about it, like to quite some extent, but I think there's a couple of issues with it in that you really need to spend quite a lot of money for it to be like it has to be fucking awesome if you're going to do it. And I think part of the problem is you've got bands like Architects who've done it and they've completed it, they've won the game, and then there's also, I guess, the sort of second thing is I don't know if people are maybe getting a little bored of it. I don't know. I don't know whether it has the same. Obviously, at first it was a bit of a novelty, I suppose, in the sense that it was sort of no one's really done this before, and it's kind of fun. But I can't think of anything more depressing than putting all that effort in and then no one watching it.
Right. No one's singing back to you in person. I know I think we're all getting fatigue in general, the whole world. We're all getting kind of fatigued from this thing. Remember when it was like this time a year ago, like it'll be a few weeks, it'll be fine. And we'll just watch Netflix and bake banana bread.
Year
And
later.
then it hasn't been that way. You're right about our Architects killed it. Frank Carter and Rattlesnakes was amazing. I don't know if you saw that one. It was really incredible and very immersive.
Tesseract was good as well, actually.
Metallica, but they're Metallica, of course. They're right, of
Doesn't count.
course, doesn't count. Any of their either the drive-in one or the one they did at their HQ with the million TVs.
Yeah, it's not.
But have you, just in general, have you watched any live streams besides Architects that you enjoyed that maybe you would see yourself doing at some point, something like it, maybe a little more low key and
I think
achievable?
I think when we were talking about this, sort of, it would be a bit more achievable for us to do more of a session rather than a live gig, because I don't think we necessarily have the money for the sort of the quality of show that you need to put on, because it needs to be. It's not just like you're in a room playing to people. It's like this has to be like proper like television quality. This is like it's really just budgetary. I think if we could afford it, we'd be jumping at it. But you obviously want to do something that is up to the quality of what we feel the album is, I suppose, and we don't want to undersell ourselves, I guess.
Right.
It's another one. I think if money were no issue, I think we'd jump at it. Absolutely jump at it. We were talking about maybe doing more of a kind of a studio session thing, but again, it's not cheap.
Indeed. Well, fortunately, you guys are also very creative, so you can come up with other things, lyric videos, teasers, behind the scenes, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you, Ed, for putting this record. Again, it's not the easiest time in the world to do things that have never been done before in your career. Thank you for still persevering and putting out this record. Devil Sold His Soul. Loss is coming out April 9th on Nuclear Blast. It has been awesome to catch up and hear about the journey the band has been on. I wish you the best success, my friend. And I cannot wait for this record to actually drop and for people to actually hear the whole thing. I think they're going to be really pleasantly surprised. If they weren't already anticipating it, I think they're going to be won over on this album.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Definitely.